This meeting to order of the Public Art Committee.
Wait, sorry. We need to start the broadcast.
Oh, sorry.
Takes a second. Want to do that, Miles?
Yeah, it's happening. It's just 1 second.
Okay, are we broadcasting?
Yes.
All right. Let's call to order this meeting of the Santa Monica Public Art Committee. It's now 5:30 roughly, and we'll start with public comment if there is any on items on the agenda. Is there any public comment?
I've seen
There's
none.
not.
Okay.
Do we need to do a roll call?
Do we do roll call for public? Yeah.
I don't think we typically do roll call for the PAC meeting, but it
No,
wouldn't hurt.
we just do that for the commission, yeah.
Okay.
We do actually.
And we clearly have 5.
Yeah.
We do. Usually we do.
Actually, we do usually do it for PAC.
Oh, we do? Okay, then 1 second. I know often Nathan does that, but not present right now, but I can definitely take that on. Just give me 1 second to pull up the proper thing to do that.
Miles, I have it in front of me as well. If you
Well, so do I now, if that's
go ahead.
okay. Wait, never mind. Naomi, you do it.
Okay. Okay. Michael Baroff,
Here.
Francois Barr, Marnie Gittleman, Gwen Pugh,
Present.
Deepa Subramanian,
Here.
Summer Vaughn. Summer.
You're muted, Summer.
I'm here.
Laura Yaya,
Here.
Mary Patricia Doherty. Okay.
Okay. All right. We'll get into the chairperson's report, and we'll go quickly, Gwen, so we can have you for our vote. First, I'd like to call your attention to a really wonderful exhibit if you haven't already seen it or don't know about it. It's this SMC, Santa Monica College Matika Wilbur exhibit. It's called Changing the Way We See Native America. And it's quite an amazing exhibit of, she created a project 562. That number refers to the number of Native American tribes that she started out with the goal to visit and document, and she ended up doing more than that. And it's the exhibit is a multimedia exhibit. They have created sort of a learning meeting and learning hub there at the gallery. And I know Michael Baroff was there for the opening reception, and I don't know if anyone else made any of the events. There was a keynote, there were performances, and 1 second, Deepa. And November 18th to 19th, there's going to be a film festival associated with it too. So Deepa, did you want to?
I said I was present. You said anyone was present. So
Oh yeah,
you
were there. You were there. Sorry. So would you like to say anything about it, Deepa or Michael?
Yeah, I went for the morning. It was a media walkthrough, so it was like a very small group of people, and she very elaborately explained. She touched on each and every point about every single painting. So it took about 20 minutes, and it was pretty emotional. At some point, she actually broke down. When she was talking about the people that were close to her, the photographs section. I thought the whole thing was amazing. I mean, that was a project that it's so significant to all of us living in the U.S. And some of the stories were pretty heart wrenching. And yeah, and she kept us in splits at the same time. And she's great energy, great artist. I loved the show.
She's a world-renowned photographer. She's just amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one interesting thing was the people who she documented. They were able to choose what stories they wanted to tell, what they wanted to wear, where they would be photographed. So it was a real partnership. Hi, Francois. We're glad to see you here. Can the record reflect that Francois Barr has joined the committee?
Make
Yeah,
a little
Michael.
comment about comment. Yeah, I mean, the reception was amazing. Lots of people, lots of looks like SMC students and the rest of us, and and it was a good opportunity to meet people. I think some of us had some little offside conversations about opportunities we may want to generate for further public events, such as maybe something in Tongva Park, maybe music. I mean, we initiate some conversations. I just want to put that out as we move ahead to whether we can consider those as we move forward.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. The head of the art department at SMC, actually, Walter Myers.
Walter.
He's not a Michael. He has reached out to us, and he'd very much like to collaborate with the city and with the Arts Commission, Public Art Committee, to do events or work to expand the outreach for this exhibit, because it's really, Francois, we're talking about changing the way we see Native America, which is now at the Barrett Gallery at Broad, and it's just really wonderful multimedia exhibit that's the result of a 10-year-old project of documenting. It's Matika, who the artist, she sold everything and bought an RV and just, reached out to every tribe that was federally recognized and more. And
yeah, I went to the keynote. I haven't had a chance to see the exhibition yet, but
oh, great! You went to the keynote. Can you tell us about it?
I thought it was amazing. She's really an amazingly dynamic speaker, and it was very emotional too in many ways. She went for the pictures. Sorry, you didn't go there. You went just to the reception.
I wasn't able to make the keynote, so I was not there. So I'm
really glad I went there. Yeah. So yeah, it was absolutely packed. People were sitting on the stairs in that auditorium, which I think they've never filled before, apparently.
Wow.
Mostly because it was built right before COVID. It was redone right before COVID. So it was kind of the coming out of the auditorium.
Fantastic. Yeah, the opening reception was packed too, and they had performances, people from the photographs that were then like stepping out of the photographs and live, performances and talking, and it was very, very moving. So so if anyone has thoughts about how we could collaborate with SMC or wants to have conversations about that, please let me know, because I think that would be a great thing to do.
Actually, I worked with SMC and helped refurbish that gallery.
Really?
From the acoustic standpoint, still not brilliant, but you should have heard it before.
Wow.
And I worked on a few other art projects in Santa Monica College as well.
Great.
Yeah, thanks for working on the acoustics. It was good this time, but yeah, it had been noticeable before. Thank you.
Yes, it was horrible.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Well, if we're ready to move on to the next item, anything else on that? Are we ready? Okay. Deepa, did you want to say anything else about that?
That's a quick. You mentioned if anybody wanted to volunteer for the SMC Barrett Gallery collaboration, I'd like to pitch in if there's anything that I can do.
Great. Okay, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Great. Okay. So the next thing is that we have been wondering when we would be able to meet again in person. And we've been given the go-ahead on the condition that we have a unanimous vote. If everyone present wants to meet in person and is comfortable meeting in person, then we can begin to meet in person again. So I'd like to go ahead and take a vote on that.
Lori, we're not to that part of the agenda yet. That's in our action items.
Oh, okay. We'll be
So
doing that in
first-
our action. Sorry.
Sorry.
I thought we were moving it forward because Gwen had to leave.
You had another item in your report, I think?
I don't.
About the
I don't
appointment?
have-
Membership.
There,
Membership
oh,
of the
right. That's true. Yes, sorry. Okay, excuse me. There is one more item in my report, which is just to let you know that because the Arts Commission was reduced in number, we'll be needing to reduce the number of PAC members from 9 to 7, and we're currently at 8 because we lost one member. So at an upcoming meeting, we'll be making that change. We'll have an upcoming nomination PAC appointment. And I think we'll be looking at, and asking people to think about, who, whether you want to continue, whether people have been involved or active. And, there are some people who are not here today and maybe haven't been here so much. So it might be easier than we think.
Yeah. So I can mention, I've chosen to step off the PAC, and and so that's one opening, and to make it easy for everyone else, whatever. So this to say.
So I think it'll just be one other person then. And anyway, so I think everyone here has been pretty active, but just something to think about. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, and just to remind folks that we need to have 3 arts commissioners. So Michael Baroff is a commissioner, so he'll be replaced with a different commissioner to serve on this committee.
Right. Thanks, Shannon.
Yeah, sorry.
But the other person need to be an arts commission. Should not be an arts commission. Yeah. Okay. So
Lori, do you want to, since we're running a little short on time, do you want to entertain a question to move item 5B to before the staff report?
Okay. Do we need to take a vote on that?
I think just an aye or nay, not a roll
Okay.
call.
Is everyone, could we take a vote by voice on whether we're all accepting of moving the action item regarding moving to in-person meetings before the staff report?
Aye.
All in
Aye.
favor? Yeah.
Okay.
Any nays? Okay. All right. So do we have a motion to move the public art committees to in-person meetings?
I'll forward that motion.
Okay. Gwen.
Can I
makes
just
the motion.
reiterate for everyone that we need 100% of ayes for it to pass, not a majority.
Right. Unanimous.
Yep.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Let's see.
I think Summer was first.
Summer had her hand up. Okay. So Summer Vaughn seconds the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All against? Okay, no nays. It's unanimous. We could have talked about it, but it looks like we didn't need to.
No, let's get together. It's
Great.
It's so tough doing these. I mean, they're great in some ways because you get to see people you wouldn't otherwise see across the country or across the world, or just can't make meetings. But there's something about personal meetings that is so different. That visceral aspect. It's like seeing art in its in its presence rather than seeing it in a book as a reproduction. I mean,
Right.
just so different.
Yeah. I mean, it was good that we had this when we couldn't see each other, but I think it's hard to, it'll be really good at New Sun. We'll really miss you, Shannon. We'll really, really miss you. I can only say that. So we can now move on to, we have some interesting things on the staff update. So let's hear from you. Please.
Thank you. I have 3 things for the update, and a nice segue from the Matika Wilbur exhibit for the City Hall mural project. Metzli working to put together a learning cohort group. They're still figuring out the naming group, comprised of community members who they will be paying an honorarium to participate. And these community members will attend the various events and info sessions and also perhaps co-host the planned events. And the first event they are considering maybe mostly for this learning cohort, and it's going to be titled something like Indigenous 101. And the idea is to provide a sort of groundwork for the future events. It's tentatively scheduled for Saturday, December 3rd at 11 a.m. And Metzli is hoping to have this panel discussion take place at the Matika Wilbur exhibit. So they're talking right now with SMC about and gotten a tentative yes on that. So
that's fantastic. That is really, really fantastic.
And this panel is about discussing the fact that Indigenous people are here and are contemporary and are not historical, and what that all. Second, our City Yards project. Our artist call closes this evening at 10:59 p.m. And as if you recall, we are on 2 tracks. We have a residency and a commissioned artist. And so far, I see that we have 24 applications for the residency and 19 for commissioned artwork. I was just paging through them, and there's some really great things in there. The next round, the artists that are selected to be finalists will be asked to present proposals and paid to create those proposals. And the panel will be reviewing those in the first week of December. So that's a little bit about our timeline for that. We do anticipate having a finalist to recommend for each the residency and commission artwork in time for a December commission and community meeting, should there be one, or in time for the January. That's the makeup. And then the third item is our light paintings, our long delayed Susan Narduli. Installer AP Construction is scheduled to begin work on Wednesday, November 23rd, and is anticipated to conclude the installation on Monday, December 19th. So we are all crossing our fingers that proceeds without a hitch. So that is it for my updates.
Great. That's great. Okay, we're making good time now. We have some new business. The first item is the children's mural. Daniel Alonso, Shannon or Naomi, are you taking that? Naomi.
Yes. And if you can see our screen here, we have a little visuals for this discussion. This is sort of our first foray into, our coming back to the idea of the age of our collection and the longevity of some of the items in it. So here is unfortunately our children's mural by Daniel Alonso, got tagged back in the summer. This piece was done in 1978, so it's actually perhaps one of the oldest pieces, certainly one of the oldest murals in our collection, if not the oldest. And this is in Marine Park on the backside of the Growing Place children's building facility. So it got extensively tagged, the whole back of the building. Here is in comparison, in 2014, this is what it looked like. So you can see that it's a little bit faded, and there are some whitewashed areas that were previously Somebody came and whitewashed probably older graffiti. Next slide. So current condition, we contracted with Fine Arts Conservation Lab to take off the graffiti. As you can see, they did a fairly good job of toning down the graffiti and making it a little less obvious. It is still there in ghosting across the whole surface. And they did some tests and they found that the paint was not adhering to the wall. This is 1978 house paint, so it's hardly a surprise. But they couldn't really even clean because the colors were just dusting off, light brushing. And this is in comparison how it looked in the 70s. Daniel sent me some archival photographs of the work, so you can see it was much more vibrant, even though it's hard to tell with this color. And I think there's another one of here, Daniel Alonso. So our question for this group and for the Arts Commission is where to move forward on this particular mural. And I did want to note that we do have to look at each mural on its own terms and its own merits. This is a fairly compact mural that we are able to consider various remedies for. So the first one that I have here in this column is a full retouching by the artist, who thankfully is still with us and is able to do this work. And the price tag on this would be $40,000-ish, $33,000 to Daniel and $7,360 in site preparation and post-painting anti-graffiti coatings. Our second option is to bring Fine Arts Conservation Lab back and to do some infill painting just to touch up that graffiti area where the ghosting is still coming through. And this is certainly much cheaper, $13,000, but it does not help bring the mural back to its full vibrancy. And then lastly, our third option is deaccession. This mural is not in good shape right now, so if we were not to do either option 1 or 2, it's really not in a great shape. The artist hasn't gone so far as to disavow it, but it's not his vision. And with the old whitewashings, it's fairly mutilated as well. So just wanted to also note that in comparison, Rosa Lowinger Associates did that 2014-2015 conservation assessment of our whole collection, and they had noted for Children's Mural that their estimate for basically just touching up in a more conservative sense was $32,000. So you can see that Daniel's proposal is actually pretty reasonable considering the inflation and what he proposes to do, which is really more of a full coverage retouching. So that's the general idea, and love to know if anyone has any questions.
Awesome thoughts.
Yeah, I got a question, Steve.
Can I throw in
Please.
a little bit here, or should we
Go for it.
wait?
Go, Gwen.
Okay. I've had the experience of working on the Siqueiros mural in downtown, the El Pueblo, and I think murals are very important in sort of recording a history of a community, even if it's an interpretive history of what, for instance, was put on that mural, why it was put on that wall. And it's part of the texture of the community. I'd hate to say it that we get de-accessioned if we're older because we got wrinkles in our face and we can't hear so well. So I feel like, in a way, the same thing's kind of happening to this mural. And the idea of sort of preserving it in place, and what they did with the Siqueiros mural was the touch-up. So in other words, where there was two colors that were adjacent to, the two same colors adjacent to each other, they would put maybe a dot in between. So they didn't repaint it. They left everything that was original. And they brought back some level of vibrancy to it. But it certainly was not the same as when Siqueiros originally did that in the 30s. That particular mural was whitewashed over, and then they had to remove it, and we were involved in the interpretive center and in the canopy that shelters it. So from my personal perspective, I like the idea that murals that still have value. There may be reasons for de-accessionizing it, such as perhaps the John Muir mural on Lincoln and Ocean Park Boulevard. But this one, if there would be some way of preserving it in place, even in its deteriorated form, then I would definitely be an advocate for that as part of the texture of our history in City.
Talk to you later. Sorry.
You're muted, Laurie. You're muted, Laurie.
Thank you. I thanked you, Gwen, for your perspective. That was very helpful. And Michael, you had some questions?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly, agree, preserving it. Just a clarification, we're using the term retouching. And given that I heard you say that it was originally painted with house paint and obviously not a very sustainable material, could you clarify the nature of retouching? You said the whole thing, is it going to be basically repainted to bring it back to its original or close to its original appearance?
This is a interesting detail or consideration for this. So the artist would like to go over the whole thing and certainly trace over what's there, but basically with new paint, with mural paint, rather than house paint, in some sense recreate. So I called it retouching, and it's not going to be whitewashed and started over. It's going to be based on what's there. But what the artist wants to do is perhaps something that, from a conservation standpoint, is not exactly a pure treatment. So that's also something for folks to consider. But we do have Daniel Alonso still with us, and he is a fixture, Santa Monica resident since childhood. He had some beautiful stories to talk about Marine Park, playing there as a kid, which I'd really like to record and keep in our records, regardless of what we do. So that's definitely something to consider. It's
That would be great to record that in our online archives, have it with the mural, if there's a way to do that.
Well, I think we made the suggestion last time that if something gets de-accessioned, to have the artist, if they were available, to provide their thoughts about why they came up with it, what it meant to them, what it means to the community, so that we still have a record of the art that has come and gone in our community.
And I just wanted to pass this on to Shannon, who can speak a little bit more.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of provide, like, as we've been discussing with you over the DIA sessions we did in the last year, public art collections are aging. And Gwen, I loved your point about with wrinkles. And so this is a big issue. And we have been advocating for the deaccession of pieces that kind of frankly needed to be deaccessioned. And in this case, we wanted to bring this to the PAC first, kind of get your response to it, because we do feel like there are enough pieces of this, specific pieces with the artist and all of Naomi's notes, that we do think that we should entertain the possibility of having him repaint. And that we wanted, so we're not advocating deaccession here, so I want to make that clear. And we wanted to get your initial kind of thoughts on this, perspectives, where your temperature on it. And then what we can do after our discussion today is then come up with a more formal staff report that we can bring to you and the Arts Commission for an action item. So right now, this is like kind of gauging where you're at, knowing that this is kind of a very special mural. It's one of our oldest. The artist is still alive. He's a local treasured artist. So I just wanted to make sure everyone was kind of aware of like where we were coming to you from in putting this on the agenda.
So just, I got to leave now, but one last thought is, I almost like the idea of it aging in place. So personally, I'm more inclined towards the conservatorship version of it, so that it gets touched up in terms of the way conservators do that. But I'm open to either way. I think it's in some ways it's great to see that it is of a historic nature rather than a new mural, would be my perspective on it. But anyway, thank you very much, everybody. I've got to pick up at this point.
Okay, thank
Sorry
you.
about that.
Thank you.
Francois was next. Francois, please.
Yeah, thanks. To me, it's really hard to think about this in isolation. I mean, you said, Naomi, that we need to think of each work on its own, but especially with what Shannon was just saying, which is we have a whole bunch of them which are in the similar state. It would be a lot easier for me to think about, well, which ones do we spend money on, and I have no idea what the others are. So I just don't have a sense of how I would begin to address whether it's worth 13,000 or 40,000 or nothing to save this one. I just have no reference point.
That's a really good point, Francois.
In terms of reference point for money, we spent 30,000 on Unbridled in Wales in 1 year, battling graffiti. So just as a reference.
But that's one reference, but I'd be interested in seeing a portfolio. Like, get the list. Are there?
That would be very helpful. Yeah.
3 murals that need that kind of work, or 55, or what's the number? What are we looking at? Is it, how much money do we have to spend on how many
That
things
was my question. Yes.
Yeah, that need those things.
Yeah, I agree with you, Francois. My question was, I was looking at our budget and trying to see where this would fit into the budget. Under collections management, it doesn't look like you have the money for this.
Well, I will also interject here to note that this would be coming from our conservation line, percent for art. So there is actually funds available for this project. But certainly it's important to discuss.
Yeah, that'd be great so that's another thing that would be helpful when we come back to this, is to have as part of the presentation, the portfolio, so we see the context, like how many murals we have that we're looking at may need conservation, and what, just what would we be giving up by doing this? What would be, just Francois's point. And then also how it fits into our budget and what funds we have available, and what, how much of our funds we would be, our available funds we'd be using. I think Michael Baroff had another.
No, that was a wave to Gwen.
Oh, okay. Naomi,
Deepa.
Yeah, I had something to say.
Okay.
So, Naomi, this just Shannon and Naomi. This just a thought in terms of with respect to murals which have a rather long-standing life. Why not look at something like a preventive measure instead of a post-mortem, activity? In today's context, you have like high quality acrylic polymers and waxes that can protect the murals, the wall murals, and against any kind of graffiti. Graffiti is gonna stay. You can't stop that from happening. But we can at least take preventive measures so that your costs can come down. As a future.
Yep. Yeah, another project that we hadn't mentioned is adding anti-graffiti coating to Unbridled and Wales again. These coatings have to be reapplied every few years. They do degrade. So they have been done, but they need to be done again. Unfortunately, the price tags for those are quite high because of their size. But they're on the list as well. And we can represent them in the portfolio next time.
I would say that I like the idea of having Daniel do the retouching or the repainting, as the case may be. But before making the decision in a responsible way, I guess I would really like to see the context. But I feel like as responsible committee members, we have to not just look at our wish list and need to look at what we've got available. Summer, did you have anything?
Yeah, I would agree that we need to know more. Right? I'm not that familiar with this mural, but it would be good to see it in the context of the other murals that we have in our collection and their state. But hearing the history of the mural and the fact that Daniel sounds like he's a beloved local artist. I think there's some value to. Sounds like there's some value to preserving this in one way or another.
I would agree with that. So we're not looking for a recommendation today, correct, Naomi? So
Yeah, I think this is exactly what we needed is like, what are your questions that you want answered? What's the additional information that will be helpful with you? This has been really, really incredibly helpful for us. So thank
Good.
you.
Thank you. So we've already done the next item, and we're already to any other announcements. Michael?
Yeah, this actually goes back to the City Hall mural. I don't think Naomi mentioned it, but I want to acknowledge her participation in that Illuminate presentation on monuments. I mean, representing us, and I guess Dr. Allison Jefferson did. But I just want to say, that Naomi did, from my point of view, a wonderful job of kind of keeping the conversation in a very objective, exploratory way to really explore the issues when so many other people are talking in very advocate sort of ways. So I just want to acknowledge that. And if those of you haven't seen the tape of that, it's available. I think Naomi put that in a previous email to us. So thank you, Naomi.
Great. Thank you for sharing that, Michael. That's really good to hear. Thank you, Naomi. Thank you. That's great. Okay, and let's see, do we have anything else before final announcements? Okay. Shannon, Naomi, do you have announcements?
Well, I'll just say I think the next we're meeting bi-monthly, so the next meeting would be December 19th. That's pretty close to the holidays, so that may get changed, but just want everyone to kind of note that for their calendars. And I just want to thank you all for working with me for the past few years, and especially over the pandemic. And it's been just a real pleasure. And it's, for me, it's never the end. We form relationships that, I think are important throughout our lives. So I hope to stay in touch, and I hope you'll come to my going away party when it happens in late November, because I would love to see you all in person for the first time in forever. So thank you.
Well, I just want to take the opportunity to thank you, Shannon, for the just amazing job you've done. We've been so lucky to have you here with us, and I can't tell you how much you'll be missed. So we will stay in touch and look forward to seeing what your next thing is. And thank you for all you've done for us and for the city. Okay.
Thank you. You can unmute and applaud.
You're right.
Thank you all.
Deepa, you had something?
Yeah, I'd like to say something. Shannon, I must tell you that this is not it's not an easy job that you were doing. I mean, but you did it so effortlessly and, seamlessly, keeping a balance between the commissioners and the city and the artists. And oh my God, it's a lot. And you did it's so graciously, and you were that was amazing. And I really appreciate the way you handled the whole. Well, I've been working with you for the last 4 years, so I know the ins and outs a little bit, if not everything else, everything. But yeah, you did a great job, and I really it's sad that you're leaving. But yes, we'll be in touch. There are no goodbyes, as you said. We will surely be in touch. All the best to
Thank you.
and your partner.
Thank you all. That means a lot to me.
Yeah, we're all so much better for you.
Oh. Okay, let's stop now. But thank you, Miles.
Oh, Shannon.
Get all verklempt.
All right.
Yeah,
So
it's the
we have a little break before the Arts Commission meeting. And I want to thank everyone for being here tonight and look forward to seeing you in person on December 19th. Amazing.
Good.
All right.
Thank you
This
all.
meeting
you.
is adjourned. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
And